Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Send, and in today's video I have a very quick overview of my league starter for the Whispering Mist season in Torchlight. The league started just about 24 hours ago as of the recording of this video, and I've been able to clear all the way up to time mark 7. I'm now just finishing getting the final cinders to go and defeat Traveler 7 and start farming pieces to eventually make my way into T8 maps. Like many others, I started with the new addition to the roster, SELF SHOCK Erika, Erika 2, or whatever you want to call the character. It's been an absolute powerhouse all the way through so far. You start with Tender Spike at level 1, and in my opinion, I never felt like the skill was not up to par, never felt like I needed to swap into anything else, so I never did, and I've been playing with Tender Spike ever since. All of that to say that I think the character is great, and if you are somebody that's still on the fence, you don't know if you want to buy the character, you don't know if she's any good, I can confidently say she is a great addition to the roster. With that, I'll leave you with the guide on the character itself, all the skills, all the gear, and things of the sort. If you have any further questions or any comments, please leave those in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in a bit. Okay, so going over the character as it is right now, we are just about to go into time mark 7 Traveler. Just need to unlock him, I need 2 more cinders to get there. And we are doing a bit over 100 million DPS when we get the maximum stacks of our traits, so let's wait for that to go down here and then dash around a little bit, get the stacks going, and then activate our buffs, activate our curse, and that should drop our damage all the way up to a bit over 100 million or so. Like so. Right, so a little bit over 100 million, more than capable of doing time mark 7. So let's talk about the characteristics right now. So first and foremost, I'm not using any uniques here. I do have Cat Power Generation Conjecture prototype, which activates lightning fast, which is this node here, without a second one, which is called Lazy Experiment, I believe. I don't think this is very good. It requires a lot of setup. In my opinion, I would also need to drop my third passive tree and go into something else, like Warlock, to get a lot of cooldown recovery speed, to get that cooldown as low as possible, and shock a lot more through that to buff our damage through lightning fast. But without it, which I don't have, and I'm on SSF, so I probably won't get it anytime soon, I'm not using it. So first and foremost, 25 and 60 is not really a decision. So for the 45, I go with Electrified Flash. Here we are able to add the value, part of the value of our shock to our damage with attacks and spells. In our case, it's an attack, right? Which is very, very good. Thunder is not bad, but it benefits a lot more for non-lightning damage, which we aren't doing, so it's not for us. So here, always go with Electrified Flash. Same vein, here, always go with Static Meteor. This means we also shock yourself when feline figure goes out to enemies. And for every 2 shocks on us, we gain movement speed and max damage. We also get a massive reduction to the damage we take from shock, which is very good. On the final ones, this one, I'm pretty convinced this is not bad. This will actually be very good, but on a very min-maxed setup. Because 3% of hit damage as base shock damage, when you have billions of damage, will be massive, I think. But that would require testing, and I cannot do that right now. So, Lightning Walker, in my opinion, also synergizes very well with Static Meteor, because we're getting movement speed from that. And then, for every 5 movement speed, we get +1 max shock damage settlement, which will be amazing for us, and is a big, big, big increase to our damage overall. For the relic and traits here, they are both just what I could find so far. I haven't found many, so these are the ones I have, unfortunately. They're not particularly good. The relic itself has reduced damage, lightning damage taken, which is a waste, and then movement speed, which is not bad. as we spoke for these two final nodes here, right? Then here we have a little bit of cooldown recovery speed, and feline figure settles shock damage 1 additional time for every 8 meters of movement made recently, up to 2. So nothing impressive, but it's not bad. And then this one adds a little bit of damage to the base of the shock, which is very nice. And this one is the same as the first one, essentially. So relics need a lot of work. There's a lot of good stats to get here. So I'll be working on that in the future. Also, if you want to see like what I'm currently aiming towards, there will be a builder in the description of the video. So go and check that out. If that isn't there yet, it's because I'm still working on it. The video might have come out and I'm working on it, so just wait a few minutes and it should appear sometime soon, I hope. For the gear, as it is right now, we are using 4-piece set. We could potentially use a 6-piece from the new set. This is 20% additional lightning damage, which is very good. Very good for our build. It would mean we have to use both helmet and gloves, and realistically we want to use gloves with fervor to buff our crit damage even further. So I'm not sure how viable that will be, but until you can have that, the 6 socket or the 6 set piece is very, very good. And if you have it, you can run that and it will give you a lot of damage. But for the set pieces that I opted to go with, I went with a necklace, belt, boots, and ring. I have a lightning conductor armor for the chest piece. This is incredibly easy to farm, is in one of the new vaults during acts, I believe in Act 2. And super easy to farm, and you should be farming those while leveling because they give incredibly amounts of quantity items and incredibly amounts of XP. While leveling, I exhausted all of those until the game was warning me that I'm no longer getting as much XP as I could because my level is too high. They're incredibly good. They make leveling so fast now in the game, it's amazing. After that, I have here on the helmet. Pretty basic helmet. We have armor, which we really are not doing much with. But then we have max life, area damage, elemental damage, double resist, and a crit strike rating, which is very good for us for our damage. On the gloves, just any gloves that give you flat on the implicit is very good. These ones are energy shield, which is not what we want, but it's fine. So on the prefixes, we have double flat here. We have crafted max life, a very low roll, so nothing impressive here. And then we have attack crit strike rating and erosion resistance, and spell crit strike rating, which is Uinata. So very easy to upgrade this one, and I might go and try to get the 6th set piece and try that out because I believe it will be way better than this. On our second ring, that is not part of the set, double flat, once again, max life, crit, resistance, int is pointless, it's just what happened to be there. On our weapons, these are pretty decent, well this one is at least. We get tier 1 crit, tier 1 attack speed, and then flat on here, elemental damage, pen, and crit strike damage. On the second one, we have elemental damage, physical damage for the weapon itself, and erosion damage. Any buff to the weapon itself is not very good, and I'll explain that in a bit. And then on the suffixes, we have crit strike damage, attack speed, or gear attack speed, which is not as good as just overall attack speed, but is the only one we can get here, right? So it is what it is. And then attack crit rating for this piece. So as you can see, gear can all be slightly upgraded quite a bit, and there's a few uniques that I still want to get that could potentially, take the build way further. And there's still many upgrades to get the build going, right? We're still only on day 1. There's a lot that can be done for this. For the passives, as you can see, we went Goddess of Hunting, Blade Runner, Ronin. This is also the recommended by default by the game. And I kind of wanted to see what they would recommend us, so this is what I tried. Goddess of the Hunting is as follows, very straightforward. We just take attack speed, damage, lightning damage here. The conversion doesn't really matter, but being able to settle one additional shock or settle shock damage one additional time is very good. And then just the attack speed and the crit up here. And I'm in the process of unlocking the movement speed here as well. For the nodes up here, while leveling, I did go with Flicker for just additional cooldown recovery for mobility skills. But eventually, after that, I switched to Paralyze for the additional damage that it gives you in meta. And here is just Rushed. Just go with Rushed, it's the better one. Right, we've been the movement speed also through our character itself, through our traits, it increases our damage by quite a bit. And then we also have additional damage if you recently moved more than 5 meters, which you should always be doing. Blade Runner 3. Big notes, it's, in my opinion, not a choice. You need these. 5% of lightning damage hit has base shock, is amazing for this build. Very straightforward. And then here, Queer Angle. Damage dealt by minions and you against shocked enemies, which you're always doing, is lucky. So essentially, every time you hit an enemy, the game rolls twice and picks the highest roll out of the damage you would do. And 3, very simple. I did go with quite a bit of life. You could drop some life nodes and go into more damage here, but I didn't like to feel squishy, and life regain is also another thing that I would recommend for this build, simply because you are still shocking yourself, you're still taking quite a bit of damage, and life regain helps dial that back a little bit. There is some tech that you can do with immune to shock, which makes so the shock can still apply to you, but it doesn't damage you, which I've seen some people talk about in Discord, but I haven't been able to test that out myself. But keep in mind that if you have that and you're not damaging yourself, maybe you don't need so much investment into life regain, maybe a single point would be enough. Right. And then we have some shock here to cap our shock, maximum life and lightning resistance, which is nice. Here we are generating agility blessings and increasing our max, right? Oh, not generating, sorry, but this gives us movement speed, which is very good for our damage as well. And here is where we're generating agility blessings every time we use a mobility skill, which is all the goddamn time for us. After that, here we add base damage to our shock, and increased settle, and some pen for critical strikes. After that, we went into Ronin, and this is probably the tree that would drop if I went into Warlock, would be this one. And for the big nodes, I go with Sprinkle. You know, just increase additional melee damage and area of effect. And last one, Falling Leaves. 25 additional, or negative 25 additional damage for weapons is why investing so much in weapon mods themselves is not as valuable as just general mods. But in trade-off for that, we get 50% additional attack damage. Potentially trade-off would be very good. 25 additional attack speed and 25 additional attack damage sounds amazing, but you'll need to be able to balance your strength and dexterity, which I haven't been able to do, or even look to do yet. I don't feel like I have the need for this right now, so if I feel like my damage is lacking, it's something that I could try, but right now, Falling Leaves is more than enough. And for the passive tree, once again, I have some damage on the initial nodes, some life, attack speed, crit as much as we can get, and then finally some more attack speed and an extra shadow every now and then. On the cube, I don't have anything worth mentioning really. I have some crit damage, some cooldown crit damage, movement speed, attack speed, and a bit of life, and attack speed, and that's it, right? So very, very simple. The character is super bare bones, but is still more than comfortably clearing tons of the content in the game right now. It feels really, really, really good. For the skills, I'm using Thunder Spike since level 1 with Haunt, Silhouette, Lightning Pen, added lightning damage, and critical strike damage. Here we have Compound Source with Limber, Stretch, and auto charge. I could potentially swap this for something else, but limber stretch does give us the extra movement speed, which technically is damage, so that is pretty nice. And auto charge is here to give us charges in boss fights, so we don't immediately run out of them and then we can't heal ourselves, because we're not killing anything. Movement skill, we have Spiral Strike with quick mobility and hardened. This is just for the reduced additional damage taken, right? Here we have Pulse Rage, Self-Sacrifice, Well-Fought Battle, and Extended Duration. Keep in mind, Self-Sacrifice makes so, as long as there's a boss within 8 meters of you, the buff here will not disappear, so the reduced duration is not an issue, because you only really need this for bosses. And finally here, I should have this on, we have Abyssal Hatred with Electrocute and Terrain of Malice, very standard curse setup. On the auras, as we know, the auras, or if we don't, the auras have been completely changed this league. I'm still testing a lot of stuff with it, but for example, Swiftness and Nimbleness all now cost 20% mana, rather than a flat amount. Meaning, if I was to, say, try and reserve one of these in life, it would cost me about 40% of my life, which is far too much. So currently I'm just using Fearless with Concentrated Effect for a big increase on Aura Effect when the character is only affected by one aura, right? So this is what I was trying to do. Obviously I have since then put on these auras to try and see if it would be better with rather than have Concentrated Effect. So I'm still testing quite a few things here. I've also tested with, where is it, Electric Conversion, which I don't think is nearly as good, not for 30% mana. So yeah, still need to test out the auras quite a bit, but my recommendation would be Fearless with Concentrated Effect, and probably drop these two and add here, if I do this just to test, to showcase it, add here something like Superpower, which would, this doesn't count technically as an aura as far as I understand, and you get a lot of crit strike rating with this. What we do with the rest of your mana? Well, to be determined. You could swap this out for something like Malleable, is also a possibility, something like Selfishness, which also gives you a lot of aura effect. So things need to be tested out in the auras. I'm not entirely sure here, to be completely honest, but I'll test it a bit further and I'll let you guys know in the update of the build. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. As you can see, no candles right now, so nothing to say there.
We're still not fighting.
And yeah, that's currently how the character is looking. Once again, for the damage, let's have a very quick showcase here of what we're doing with our max stats. There we go. And it should be about 120, about 130 million DPS range. So pretty good for what we expect in less than a day in SSF, right? So that's the build. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.